We read in this book of Kings this morning. I'm not entirely sure where the trajectory of this is taking us, but I can tell you what this is. This is the beginning of the Assyrian exile. You may be familiar with the idea of the lost tribes. Israel, after the death of King Solomon, Solomon's son, Rehoboam, I'm not entirely sure this is the correct one. That might be David's son, whatever. Solomon's son, who is now the king, enacts some policies that under his father would have been unappreciative, and he was not his father. And the kingdom splits between Judah and Benjamin in the south and Syria in the north. Not Syria, Samaria in the north. And the king of Assyria, the local powerhouse at the time, comes in and does what ancient kings do. This is the market. You go and you invade another smaller country that doesn't have a good enough army. And, if things go well for both of you, you trade some land. If things go badly for both of you, you trade some land. But if things go badly for one and not the other, you take everything. And depending on what country you are, which is what happened here, everyone gets sold into slavery. All of the Israelites were taken out of Samaria, the northern kingdom, and they never came back. At least not as a people. Not like the Jews, the inhabitants of Judah, came back after the Babylonian exile and still, had a cultural center in Israel. And the people who become the Samaritans are partially descendants of some of these people, but there's also a heavy mix of pagan influence and transformation has happened. But here's the most critical piece of all of this, right? This didn't happen by accident. This didn't happen because God was capricious and mean. This happened because the people of Samaria refused to follow the Lord, and the Lord sent prophets, and they didn't listen to the prophets. And then the Lord sent more prophets, and they didn't listen to the prophets. And then the exile happened. And God says to the people of Israel, you want to follow other gods? Fine. Go with them. And that was it. Now, of course, that's not the end of the story, right? God promises to Judah, one of the signs of the Messiah is going to be the return of the lost tribes. And that was more than likely initially fulfilled when the Magi came from the east. Because you know what is east of Israel? The remains of Assyria. By the time of Christ, they were gone. They had been beat out 2 or 3 times in that time period. Now, of course, they've been replaced by another local powerhouse, the Romans, which we're all familiar with. But those guys coming from the east, yes, they may have been totally foreign, pagan stargazers. Or they may be they may be the descendants of the ancient ancestors of the tribes that went into exile that still remembered some of their ancient Jewish heritage, even if it wasn't practiced properly in the foreign lands. And of course, Pentecost undoes all of it. Because not only does God bring the lost tribes, God brings back all of the lost descendants of Adam. And here you see, this is the result of evil. This is the result of idolatry. When we set up other gods, when we turn away from the Lord, when we make us the center of our world, everything disintegrates. And the Lord lets us have our way. And it often leads to it doesn't often, it always leads to our doom and our destruction. It just may take a while. But when you follow the Lord, that's when the healing starts.